and today I'm going to show you how to make a pot of really fresh beans. I'm using beans from the company Rancho Gordo, and today I'm making Mayocoba beans, which you'll see, a nice light brown bean. They're medium sized, and I've made them before, and they're really quite tasty. Now, step one, using dried beans, is you need to soak them. And when I say soak them, it means soak them overnight. So this is really going to be a two-part video. Today's going to be to just soak the beans. Step one, open your pack of beans, put them in a big pot. That's easy. Now all you want to do is fill it with water. Covering the beans by about an inch of water. Put your beans on your stove top, cover it, and leave it alone till tomorrow. So that's it for now. We'll see you again tomorrow. So here we go, day 2 of making a pot of beans. I soaked the beans overnight, and this is now what they look like. They're soaking maybe about 18 hours. You can see how much larger they've gotten. So before I drain them, I want to now talk about the different flavor elements that I'm going to add to the pot. And these are the flavor elements that I really like. You can do whatever you think is best. And I've not followed any recipe. It's just these are the flavors that I think work very well with beans. I've got onions, carrots, parsley, celery, garlic. I have bay leaves, and I'm also going to put in some dried thyme leaves. Now onions, I don't measure, but I would suspect this is maybe about a cup of onions, and you can see I've done a rough chop. It doesn't have to be any smaller. It's just all going to cook with the beans. The same with the carrots. Maybe there's a cup of carrots here as well, and you can see it's just a rough chop. Here's parsley. And I've taken the parsley off the stems because you don't want to cook with the stems. They don't taste good. You really just want to cook with the leaves. So again, maybe about a half a cup of parsley. I have a couple of bay leaves. Here's some celery, again, rough chop. And the important thing I like to do is don't throw away the leaves and these middle sections. These actually have a lot of flavor. So just use them, do a rough cut. There's my celery. And then, of course, I cook with garlic. Now, here's another tip that you might find very useful. The way to get rid of the garlic peel is just put your garlic on the board and give it a good smash. Voila. It comes right off. Now, just give this a rough cut. You can see this was a large one, so I'm going to just do a rough cut. There you go. That's it. So now, let's actually start putting all of this together. Step number 1, take the beans and drain them. There you go. I'm just going to give this a quick rinse. And now I'm going to put the beans back in my pot. Okay. Now to the beans, well, let's just do it right here. I'm going to put in the parsley. That looks like a lot, enough. You see, I don't measure, but it looks like maybe it was a little too much. Celery, that looks good. Let's throw in all of my carrots. Well, you know, it'll just work better this way. So let's throw in my carrots. My onions, of course the garlic, don't forget the garlic. And for this amount I'm using 2 nice sized bay leaves. Give it a little swoosh. I'm going to also add a small handful of dried thyme. Again, I don't measure, but that looked like maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. and just some coarsely cut fresh black pepper. There you go. Now, to this, you want to add chicken broth. If you want to go vegetarian, you can. You can just use vegetable broth. You can even use just water. There's plenty of flavor in here if you want to just use water. But I like using chicken stock. And this is my homemade chicken stock, but you can certainly use canned chicken broth. I would just recommend going with low sodium because you just don't want to put too much salt in here because it'll make the beans burst open. And just see if there's enough liquid. And to me, it doesn't look like there's enough liquid in here. So, let me go get another cup of chicken broth. And low sodium. Just add it to the pot. What you're looking for is for the liquid to be about an inch above where the beans are. And you know what? That looks about right. And that's it. You want to cover it and bring it to a boil. When it comes to a boil, what you're going to do is lower the temperature to a very low simmer and then just simmer it for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I would start checking the beans after about 40 minutes to see what they feel like. You want them to be soft, but I like them to have like somewhat of a bite to them. So it's if you like them softer, that's fine, but that's what I would do. And the other thing is, depending on how fresh the beans are, they'll cook. If they're fresher, they'll cook faster. If they've been sitting around for a while, they'll take longer. So again, start checking them after about 40 minutes, and then beans could maybe even take an hour and a half. It just depends on the beans. So that's it. Let's get this going, and we'll come back later when this is done. Okay, I'm back. Well, it's been about 45 minutes, and I just tasted one of the beans, and they're done. These beans were really fresh, so even though they're kind of on the big side, they did only take about 45 minutes. If your beans aren't quite so fresh, they'll probably take a bit longer. So again, just start tasting them after about 40 minutes, and when it has the right bite, you know they're done. Let me show you what it might look like, what these look like. Here you go. This is my pot of beans. And you know what? Let me just take one of these. Look at that. You see how nice and creamy that looks? Just perfect. Now, one thing I didn't mention before, specifically, was salt. You don't want to salt the beans as they cook, because what happens is it breaks open the skins. So now that they're done, I am going to put the salt in. Again, I don't measure, I just kind of use my hand, but that looks like maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons, maybe 1 teaspoon. And you know what? It looks like I need more. So I'll put a 2nd teaspoon in. There's my salt. The other thing I didn't mention before was an approximation of how much liquid I put in here. While I was on break, I kind of looked at it, and it looked to me like I put maybe about 6 cups of chicken broth for that 1 package of beans. So that gives you an idea of maybe the ratio of liquid to beans. Anyway, this is done. I'm going to just let it cool on the stove. When it's cool, I'm going to package them up into individual servings. They'll stay in the refrigerator for a week easily, but some of them I'll put into the freezer because they freeze perfectly well, and they're there for when I want them in the future. So that's it. Enjoy your beans. See ya.